Working on this album only reminded me how much I enjoy designing for music. Back in the 80s, there was a magazine called Star Hits, and I placed an ad in the pen pal section. And I mentioned that I like Duran Duran and Animant and Frank Goes to Hollywood, stuff like that. And I must have gotten over 1,000 pieces of mail, like, responses. Duran Duran Rio, which was, I guess, 82, come to think of it. I was just struck by the overall design of it. There's so many little details, little intricacies, which is quite strange for me to say because I was really trained to look for that stuff. But it just really grabbed my attention on the record store sleeves. And I never bought the LP because I didn't have a record player. But every time I go to the store, I would pick it up and look at the front, look at the back. The little corner that said Sorted Images, which was Malcolm Garrett's company at the time. My friend introduced me to Halou Twins and this Mortal Coil, the second generation cassettes, I think. And also that year the Smiths broke up, which kind of devastated me because they were my favorite band at the time. And I started listening to the Halou Twins and Phil Green Shadow. And I was at Tower Records one day and I saw The Lonely's an Eyesore LP, the deluxe version. And I'd never bought a 4AD record before. So I figured that was a good one to start with because at the time I was into compilations because I didn't have a lot of money. I figured the way to hear new bands was to get a compilation. The first ZTT records were designed by this company called XL, but they were always credited as XL ZTT. I imagine they always collaborated with Trevor Horn and Paul Morley. And the first Frankie releases, the thing about those sleeves was they used a lot of Futura-Bold, which I didn't know it was called Futura-Bold at the time, but I've noticed the same typeface being used over and over. It was almost like the official Frankie typeface. And then Bodoni was the official one for Art of Noise. Like each band had their own typeface, it seemed. Propaganda had their own. So their sleeves, what made a ZTT sleeve was the weird Paul Morley quotes. That's why I also first became aware of catalog numbers. They had this thing called the Action Series and the Incidental Series, and they had these really obscure, esoteric catalog numbers. You're probably in the middle of recording the beginning of Feather Songs for Factory Girls. And you asked me to design the single for Radium Girls. And you have this amazing illustration by Joey Pham that, I don't know, it's one of the most amazing illustrations I've ever seen, honestly. So, since Radium Girls was a teaser, or prelude to the album, I decided to use part of the illustration on the single. I picked the fonts that I thought would complement the artwork. We did the single, and I thought that was that. just using a piece of the illustration on the single turned out to be the right thing to do, I guess, since it was kind of an introduction to the album where you could see the entire illustration. But the funny thing was, I didn't know I was going to do the album. I wasn't expecting to. And then you said, well, we were just going to copy what you were doing anyway, so you might as well do it. So, okay, sure. I know it went through 17 versions, but they were all pretty similar, so it's not like every version was drastically different. There was definitely there was a path we were following, I think. For part 2, your direction was to make it more colorful, but at the same time, I did still want to inject some continuity. So I still had to use the insignia, I still had to use Jody's illustration, but I wanted to add to it. And somewhere along the line, I think as you discovered this intentional corruption process of images that I was able to incorporate, or I was able to employ with the part 2 artwork. And what I did was I used that process to corrupt stills from Radium Girls. So that's another part of the continuity. This big wall of crazy colors was actually Radium Girls, stills from the video. Looking back at all the Feather Songs artwork, I'm amazed we did all this, everything. Right from the beginning, with just a single. From the single tour, we ended up with the double LP and the poster set and the wooden box. It's just incredible. And it made me wish all good bands paid this amount of detail to their packaging.